I'm a senior, soon to be graduating on May 13th.
Unless something goes wrong.
Unless something goes wrong. Professor Hauser has to grade my capstone, so it's actually really all in her hands right now. I chose Chantal Mouffe's The Democratic Paradox. We read this in Contemporary Political Thought, and it's one of the most significant books I've read. It's super important, I think, because of like the notion of like participation in politics and like the temporary decisions that are made.
So my favorite political theory book is Thucydides, The War of the Peloponnesians and the Athenians. I enjoy it because it looks at an aspect of humanity that's pretty gross. It's interesting that it's willing to go to both ends of society. It has the absolute darkness of the Michaelis episode, and then on the other end, it has Pericles like talking about this city that completely doesn't exist, but like is the ideal that people should strive for. It just has like a whole lot of the human experience in it.
I chose The Republic by Plato. I think it makes a very good point that to examine the human, you have to look at human society and the political community. And the other thing I really like about it is that its vision of the political community is more than just a collection of individuals, but a cohesive whole.
I picked the ethics because I think Aristotle is an important milestone in political theory. I think Aristotle took what was good and noble and groundbreaking about Plato and kind of brought it back down to the real world. I think Aristotle had a method, and that method is conservative, but it's not a set of beliefs and dictates about the way that society absolutely is. It's more of a way of understanding how we should take society as it is, how we should take people as they are, and kind of work within that to move forward. And I think that method is right.
I would definitely recommend to read Tocqueville's Democracy in America. That's by far like the most interesting book we ever read, and I feel like every time I read it more and more, I feel like I've understood it more. I like the way he explained like his definition of democracy, and he thought like what were some of the problems that could come from it, and the way he explained it and the way he said that we could remedy these problems. Also, like he talked about like equality and how Americans are very passionate about equality, and I think that's something we see even now today. Like we're always trying to fight for social justice and everyone being treated equal. So I think his example, even back in the 1900s, it still applies today. So I actually wrote one of my papers I wrote for Levi, and I wrote about that. I said,
Tell me about that.
I talked about how, so I gave 3 examples. I talked about the civil rights movement, I talked about the women's movement, I talked about the progressive movement, and how like each people dedicated their life and their work, like Martin Luther King and Susan B. Anthony. They dedicated all their lives to getting like the rights that they would deserve, like the rights that were endowed to them by the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. And they weren't, and they sacrificed their lives, which was like an admirable thing they did, and the right thing, you know, as what should deserve as citizens of the United States. But I feel like in the end I concluded like they were trying so hard, because Martin, like his famous words, like I want my children to be treated with this, not by the color of their skin, but their character.
Yes.
And like I said that then like they changed the political system, but not American mores. And that's something I said that each individual has to change alone by ourselves.
What's interesting about the ancients is that much less than other political theorists, they don't give a direct answer, they just give you problems that you have to deal with. I think it's just important to never assume that we have solved a problem in its entirety, and that we shouldn't have that hubris of thinking that we have the answers.
We all have like our own perception of life. We all have different experiences. We grew up in different areas, especially like coming to a place like AU, like you see all these people from all over the countries.
Yeah.
And I feel like talking to different people, listening to different like perceptions, different ideas, different ideologies. Because if we're always in our own bubble, we'll talk about the circle of thought. If we're never gonna expand our ideas and check our own self and realize, oh, maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe there's a different way, or like, you know, I could come in the middle.
Just showing up, like still just reading different books. You know, like reading the conservatives, reading the liberals, reading the radicals, reading the, not necessarily reading the fascists maybe, but I don't know. It's important because that's how I think people in the end achieve the good life?
I think we all need to work together, like social justice for everything. But I feel like this like idea of like racist America and everything, I feel like we can work towards it, but ultimately like every individual has to work on it alone, like through learning, through philosophy, through engaging with their culture, traveling, expanding our biases, checking our own biases. I think that's really important.
Definitely concentrate in political theory if you're thinking about it. I think it's a great thing to do.